Oh, these characters on this bus. I've just kicked them all out. It's my bus now. Hi, everybody. In Shrewsbury. Oh, look, it's Jess Harwood. Jess Harwood and James Cole are out of frame. How you guys doing? Just got off a 2-show little run here in Shrewsbury in the Theatre Severn. Is that what it's called? Theatre Severn? It's the Severn River, I do believe, that the theater is on, and it was fun. What are you guys talking about? Let's see. What are you guys talking about in the chat here? Let's see. I dig the Ron Ellis single coils in the blue Strat. They are really nice. It's an interesting sounding guitar. It's like they're not super bold or anything. The pickups in my blue Sur, and it's my only Sur with like other pickups in it, I think. What is that noise?
Sorry, I'm just bursting my microwave.
She's piercing the plastic in the top of her microwave meal. It's making me hungry. It smells like curry in here. Anyways, it's a really good sounding guitar, that one, but it's kind of they're not hot, or they're kind of like 50s pickups or something, and I do enjoy that guitar a lot. It's a great guitar. This is the blue Sur I have out here on the road. What do we got? We got 166 people online already. Good to see you guys. Let's see. Do you remember how you learned to connect chords and shapes with scales up and down the fingerboard? I just thought I'm still learning how to do that. You know what? The best thing to do that is really practice arpeggios all over the neck. And I guess the whole sort of cage system thing is probably helpful if that didn't exist when I was a kid. But I remember clearly going to Musicians Institute and my teacher, Nick Nolan, suggesting, playing arpeggios all over the neck. Like all he did was play arpeggios for 3 months or something, he said, and then he could just see all the chord shapes after that. That made a lot of sense to me. It's like if all you did, for instance, if you were practicing soloing over a progression and all you did was play arpeggios in the 5th position over, say, a 4-chord progression, you would see all of the arpeggio shapes and probably all the chord shapes in that position, right? Just kind of like imagine yourself slowly picking through arpeggios or something for each chord, or quickly going through arpeggios, for each chord. And he just stuck to arpeggios for like 3 months, and then he said he was just like, after that he was just like all over it when it came to seeing the notes, both arpeggios and chord shapes. Made a lot of sense. So maybe try that. I've often thought of that when he told me that. This is one of those things I remember from MI, like, going there. It's interesting, like, you think back 30 years because it's been that long. It's insane how long it's been since I was there. But when I think back, that is one of the things I remember about somebody telling me there that seemed profound. Oh yeah, if you just worked on arpeggios, nothing but arpeggios for 3 months, you'd really be able to see chord tones, and it would help both your rhythm playing and your soloing, because you'd be able to see those target chord tones that you should hit. Learn triads for days. Yeah, totally. I mean, I also remember going to lessons and doing like three note shapes, on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings, and then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 5th, 6th, kind of like every 3-string group, and playing, say, D triads all the way up the neck on little 3-string shapes. So let's say you start in the 1st position, the D chord in the 1st position, and then you move up to the 5th position, and then you move up to the next position. You know what I mean? You just, okay, I can see all those, and then you do it on the next group of 3 strings all the way up the neck. So it was like a Ted Green thing, really, triads. So there's just Harwood.
Hi guys. Just putting my nuts away.
Anyways, jeez. Music Life with Arthur Gonzalez with the super chat. You guys throwing things at one another? I watched an awesome version of Say Hello to Heaven, and you crush it. Thanks, man. Chris came over and stood next to you, and you gave a big smile. That's cool. I wonder what video it was. You can post it if you want in the chat. I'd love to see it. It was always fun to do with him. Last gig I did with them in 2016, we did that, and it was so fun. I remember just getting to play that and go, yeah, that was a really nice moment, actually, of that show, the Roxy in 2016. Okay, great show. And there's a fella that was at the Shrewsbury show. And thank you for that super chat, Music Life. Appreciate that. Darth Paul 76, great show in Shrewsbury last night. Took my 8-year-old daughter along as her first live show. She loved it and thinks you were the best guitarist. Ah, that's sweet. That's so nice. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, what was everybody's first concert when they were a kid? Like, I remember going to shows with my parents that weren't rock shows. Like, we went to Neil Sedaka and we went to the Captain and Tennille and stuff like that. Like, when I was a kid, probably like, it's my earliest memories of like 75, 76. You know, I was 4 years old or something, 5 years old, going to those gigs. But I do remember them, like barely, but I remember live music in a venue. You know, it's like, whoa. And then my first rock show was the Doobie Brothers on their final tour, supposed to be their final tour, which is really funny because the Doobie Brothers still perform. And I'm 51 and I was a little kid then. It's insane, right? It's like, you know, they're still together and thriving, really, you know, right? But yeah, it was the Doobie Brothers last year, and Michael McDonald was out there. You don't know me, but I'm your brother. It was awesome. And then next show was Rod Stewart on the Tonight I'm Yours tour. That was my next rock gig. And then after that, I was going to like everything that came through town in Edmonton in the 80s. So, yeah. It's 3:26. Guys, I'm just going to do like a half an hour tonight because I'm knackered and I haven't eaten dinner and stuff. So today's going to be kind of a short one. It was a 2-show run and stuff. And I'm just letting you know right now. But that's kind of my plan, is to do about a half hour, 30 minutes or so today. How long does the adrenaline from the show last these days? You already seem really chill. I'm tired, to be honest. You know what happened? We had a Sunday lunch, you know, Sunday roast, whatever, you know, which was great. It was really nice today. But we ate around 3 p.m. and then I didn't eat again. And I learned that that's probably not a good idea. Like, so I had a little bit of food in the morning, and then at 3 p.m. I ate the only sort of meal I had today. And then we played the show at 7:30. It's a long show. It's a 3.5-hour show, and that doesn't work. By the break, I was like kind of tired. So I learned something today. It's like, okay, don't do that again. If you're going to do the Sunday roast thing in the UK, go at noon. And do it then, like eat the meal then, and then have something else at 5:30. You know, because it wasn't good. It was like, kind of was. You need food. Like I needed protein or whatever closer to the show. I learned that. You know, thought, oh, I'll be fine if I eat at 3, because you're still eating at 4 or whatever. Kind of, you know, oh, I ate at 4 p.m. I'm cool. No, it's not enough to sustain me throughout the gig. You know, it was fine and everything, but it was just like, it wasn't 100%. So, yeah. Andy Racks the Cams has got it all figured out. Chippy at this time. Proper food closes early. Just dodgy kebab left. If nobody knows what he means, just know, Andy, that I know what you mean. A guy named Andy Racks the Cam says, Chippy at this time. Proper food closes early. Just dodgy kebab left. That's, yeah, right? Right, Jess Harwood? Yeah. That's true. Right. Yeah. But I've got food in the fridge on the bus. So what happened?
So did you tell them about the kebab scenario, or did you not pay? Did you not give in?
Would you like to tell them?
No, because I don't really know much about it. Only just what you've heard. But
oh well, what happened was I couldn't eat there anyway because it was gluteny food, and I don't do that. But the other guys went to this kebab shop, which is like, you know, meat off a spit kind of place in here in Shrewsbury last night, late after we'd gone out, and they basically tried to rip everybody off. Like, there's prices up on the board up above of how much everything costs. You know, it's like this much for chicken shawarma or this much for whatever. And Rudy made the mistake of saying, one of our singers was saying, just give me whatever's the best. What's the best thing you've got here? Oh, you want a mixed whatever, you know, mixed kebab. And they said 20 pounds. Well, you can look up on the on the kebab story, you can look up on the menu and see that everything's $7.50 or $6.50 or halloumi, however much, and Wayne just paid it, and Rudy was like, that sounds like a lot, but all right, and they just kind of went with it. Well, they were just getting taken, and I went back to the hotel and had 2 bags of chips out of the vending machine, so I guess I made out. It's been a rough couple days of food, to be honest. Like, lunch was great today, but I was saying earlier, I learned today, if we do Sunday roast, I need to go earlier because if I go earlier at 12, then I'll definitely eat again at 5:30.
Yeah.
Because we kind of ate at 3:30, 4, wasn't hungry, and then I was not good by like halfway through the gig. I needed protein or something, so it was how it goes. But anyways, life on tour. Life on tour. Corey saw Rat and Poison in 1987. That's pretty cool. First concert, Bingo says Kiss in 79. I met a guy tonight at the meet and greet, because we do a little meet and greet after the shows on this tour. And I met a guy tonight that said he saw Van Halen 12 times, with the first show being opening for Black Sabbath in 78, which was legendary because they evidently blew Sabbath off the stage every night on that tour. And then he saw them on their first headline tour in the UK. First show in the UK was, he said, I think it was late 78 or early 79. And that was the first of 12 shows that, he saw them many times in the UK. So that's pretty cool. I'm jealous. Would have loved to have just seen that. Mike says, I think he means Steppenwolf, that he saw Steppenwolf in 72, which is pretty cool. That's pretty great. Well, that's interesting. Christian saw Hart at Six Flags Great Adventure in the early 80s. Nancy Wilson affected me in a big way. She was so attractive, wasn't she? Yeah, Nancy Wilson was like, damn. And she's still just lovely, I think. We do Barracuda on this tour. There's Henry.
Hey.
Keyboard player. First concert, Kiss with Cheap Trick opening. That's cool. That's definitely cool. Iron Maiden at Buzzwire Stadium in 2018. That was your first concert, Preston Smith. Wow, at 46. Well, it's never too late to learn how to rock, dude. That's awesome. First real rock concert, yes, in 79 at Boston Garden. Cool. That's cool. That's cool. Carlos Santana says, this is great, you guys. I love this, hearing about everybody's first shows. The Mendel Sisters, Jefferson Airplane. That's cool. Crocus opening for Sammy Hagar. Cool. On the Can't Drive 55 tour. That's cool. Crocus were good, man. Wasn't they screaming in the night, I'll die for you. I remember that song. That guy was kind of a cool singer. I've got super chats to get to there. Let's see. The Doobies second show, Paul says, with the Doobies shortly after Michael joined. So you must be about my age then. Cameron says, love the tour rig video. Thank you. Yeah, that did well, actually. I think it's up around 70,000 views almost. That's fun. Yeah. You said knackered. Yeah, I am knackered. Yeah, and I am picking up the local lingo. That's for sure. Waylon Jennings. That's fun. With members of the Crickets. First rock show. Rolling Stones in 81. That's cool. I've only seen the Stones once, and it was in the late 90s, around 97, 98, something like that. Metallica with the Cult in 89. That's cool. I saw the Cult in about 88, 87 with Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses opening. Nobody knew who they were. And I think I was telling that story to Matt Sorum because I just did that gig with him in Palm Springs. And he clearly remembers that time, of course, but he was in the Cult, and that's, of course, I guess, initial connection, how he ended up playing with Guns N' Roses and stuff. So yeah. Gary says he's 51 as well. September 71. When's your birthday? June. So I'm a little older than you, dude. You got that on me. I'll always be older. How many shows are you doing? It's 40 total, I think, or maybe 39. Let's see here. I took my stepson to see Zappa play Zappa when he was 7. That's cool. Then his second was the Derek Trucks Band, first row. Wow. Pretty cool, man. That's great. Kids are so fun at the shows. The kids come to see us, and I love seeing them out there. I will get those super chats that I missed there. One just popped off. It's always awesome, and they have so much fun. They're jumping around. It's great to see them out there with their parents and stuff. It's really cool. So it's a fun thing to see the kids at the gigs, isn't it? I remember being that guy. I guess that's why, So, Peter, thanks for the super chat, man. Thanks for jumping on. When does the tour wrap? I've got a little break, so I head back in about 10 days to the US. I get a week or so, and then I come back again and do another 3 weeks, and then we wrap around the 3rd week of March. So quite a few gigs left. That's just what she's eating. I don't know. It smells like curry. So I think, and I got a curry too. Yeah, for later. So when I get off of here, and I need it. Smite Tree says just had a mug root beer. I remember that stuff. First 3 concerts, says Paul, were Beach Boys, Peter Frampton, Blue Oyster Cult. Super cool. That's awesome. I saw the Beach Boys in early 80s at some point. I remember that. And Peter, I only got to see Peter. I'm pretty good friends with Peter, and I love that dude. He's so cool. And I've only, unfortunately, gotten to see him play live once, though, which was an acoustic show, which was brilliant, in Thousand Oaks, California, about maybe 6 years ago, something like that. It was so great. And Blue Oyster Cult I saw also kind of out that way, actually, at the Canyon Club, not that long ago, really. Well, actually, we played with them. I think we opened for them. I was in 40 Foot Echo. Oh, God, it is a long time ago. Feels like 8 years ago, but it was probably 20. That's insane. You know how you get older and that happens? Because, yeah, I was in 40 Foot Echo in like 2003. So I remember playing with Blue Oyster Cult at the Canyon Club. Yeah. There you have it. That's what happens. Time becomes elastic. Glenn says, I would think that Lebanese is gluten-free if you don't get pita. I always wonder about, fillers in things like meat and stuff like that. They use wheat for a lot to bind a lot of stuff, and I don't know. They advised me to not eat their food. And it would have cost me like 20 pounds anyway, and it wasn't worth that much. One of the nice things about playing our higher end gigs is there's always good food provided. We don't really do that on this tour. Yeah, it's a little bit of fend for yourself when it comes to food on this tour, but we do get a nice PD, so that's fine. Per diem. Saw Kim Mitchell in North Bay, Ontario 4 times. I think the first time in 88. I saw him in 89 or 90 the first time. So it was a great tour. Rockland tour, maybe. I think. Alana Miles opening, I remember. And she fell down twice. I think she had a few or something. She had a mic that was not wireless, and she kept getting it wrapped around things, and then she'd fall down. I was like, whoa. The first time it was like, ooh, but that happens, And then the second time it was like, something's wrong. I'd like to know the difference between EVH's rig, where he had a large capacitor in the back of his amps. Well, it wasn't a capacitor. It was a large load resistor versus his original setup. I believe he used a load resistor to load down the amp, just a 16 or 20 ohm or 30 ohm load resistor, something like that, to load down the amp. Yeah, Friedman would be the one to ask about that, probably on Rig Talk. Rig Talk? That's a forum on, what's Dave's show called? Tone Talk. That's it. Yeah. Okay. First real concert, AC/DC with Yngwie opening, Boston Garden. Wow. That's interesting. What are the new toggle switches on your SL68 other than the treble cap switch? So I had a few things put on toggles, which are the fat cap, which is one little part that goes in the amp that is in the front end that just makes it a little thicker sounding. It doesn't really add gain. It just makes it a little, I would say, fatter, deeper sounding. And it's something that Ed had in his amp, and it was really the only one of the only things other than the negative feedback and that had been changed in his amp that wasn't kind of stock plexi. The other one is the 50K mid pot, which was one of the only kind of weird things, but supposedly stock, probably stock in his amp. Most Marshalls that era had a 25K mid pot. That's just a normal spec. His evidently was 50. It lifts the EQ a little bit and makes it a little more gainy, just a little bit, which I show in that EVH deep dive with Friedman rig video that I did about the Van Halen tone. So you can listen to it on there and you'll hear right away that it's not a huge difference switching between 25 and 50K. But it is a little bit of a difference. It does, a Marshall EQ, a plexi EQ is lossy, so it's basically subtracting. That's why when you turn the whole EQ on 10, you get a little more gain because it's letting the most signal through kind of the preamp. And it just sounds a little gainier. When you start to back things down, you're actually reducing gain at certain frequencies. That's why also when you've got the mids all the way up, which is probably arguably maybe the most active kind of thing on one of those EQs, it's not active, but it affects the most. When you turn the midway down, you get less gain. You notice on a 4-hole Marshall. When you've got the mids all the way up on a 25K pot, it's kind of like having the mids on half on a 50K, I think. Pretty sure I've got that right. So imagine then you've got this more range to let more signal through, and it gets just a little bit gainier. It's noticeable though. So the two switches on the amp, to answer your question, are to switch in and out the fat cap and switch in and out 25 to, or switch 25 to 50K mid value. And on this gig, I have the fat cap in, and I'm using the 25K setting on for mid. I do have the bright cap on though, the 4700 PF bright cap, and then I run the amp on about 7.5, something like that, and that's kind of where it just lives for being out here right now. I'm not doing everything on 10 and all that, like the Van Halen thing. I've got the presence is on about between 4 and 6. Tonight I turned it up a little bit, so consider it on 5. Sort of mids are on like 8, trebles on like 5.5 or 6, bass is on maybe 6, 7, something like that. Sounds great. And then I hit it with the Unit 76 sometimes for a little more grind drive. It's already pretty dirty though. I mean, I'm really enjoying something on this tour doing with the SL60, something I'm doing with the SL68, which is I can hit certain notes and just make them feedback indefinitely and not be uncontrollable. And it's really fun. I can do like a couple of the songs that we do where, for instance, like we do YYZ, right? And at the end of the solo, I hit the long A note as the keyboards are playing which goes on for like 8 bars. And I just hold a sustained A with the whammy bar, just a little bit of wiggle for like 8 bars. And I can hit it every time. And it rings out perfectly and sustains endlessly. It's so cool. And that's just with the Klon style drive of the unobtainium in front of the amp on, and the amp's on like 7, and the drive is just, a little bit of overdrive kicking the front end, and I can get endless sustain with the volume that I'm playing at, which isn't crazy loud, but sort of loud. Yeah. This is interesting. Travis said he missed his first concert because Ozzy decided to bite the head off a bat, and he was banned from playing in Louisiana. Isn't that funny? Oh, God. Let's not get uptight now. Louisiana. The man thought it was a toy. Bon Jovi at Milton Keynes. Am I saying that right? It's Hollywood Actresses First Show. It's around this time of night that my eyes get dodgy. How many shows are you doing? Around, I think it's 39 or 40 total on this tour. Glenn saw Schenker in 75 for his first concert. That's really cool. Aerosmith in 72. So Aura or Scala? I'm using them both. I like them both for different reasons. The Scala is a little bit lower gain. It's actually a little more PAFE pickups. I think, to be honest, this is one thing I've learned. I think the Aura has the Thornbucker Plus in the bridge, and I think I would actually prefer a Thornbucker. A little less, like a little closer to the Scala, which is probably an 8.2 or 8.3K, judging from the sound of it to me. It's just a little lower wind. Thornbucker Plus is what's in the Auras, I think, and it's probably an 8.7. I actually think it's a little hot, and I find that interesting because in my Les Paul R9, I have a regular Thornbucker set. That's my one guitar that has regular Thornbuckers and not the Plus model. I like the Plus in a Strat style guitar with an alder body or ash or whatever, and a maple neck and all that bolt on. I feel like those guitars need a little more push. But a Les Paul with mahogany, I've mentioned this before, and it's bearing out, and I'm sort of being proved to me on this tour. A Les Paul with a glue-in neck, Les Paul style guitar, right, with a glue-in neck and all mahogany neck, mahogany body. They have a little more mids, and they feel like the guitar is a little hotter. Without the electronics being hotter, they have a little more sustain. It's got something to do with the shorter scale and the glue-in neck and all that stuff. And I feel like a little lower wind is a little more my vibe in that guitar. So that's something that I've kind of, thought about before, but also sort of, shall I say, it's being reinforced on this tour. Glenn says he saw Metallica in 89 as well. Queensryche Open. I saw Metallica on the Master of Puppets tour in 86. Or was it 87? But anyway, it was a couple weeks after Jason had joined, after the tragic loss, of Cliff, their bass player. And Jason joined, and it was a great show. I remember really enjoying it. And I remember going, somehow we managed to get backstage, hanging out in the dressing room with all those guys, Hetfield and all those guys in like 86. And I remember I had the tour program, and I asked Jason Newsted if he would sign it. And he flipped right to the page of the program. Still had Cliff in it because they were going, they were on a tour with Cliff. He flipped right to the page with Cliff, and he wrote, "Cliff, rest in peace." And I thought that was really classy. That always made an impression on me. I always remember that was handed in the tour program. Would you mind signing it? They all signed it, but he signed, flipped right through and went straight to that page. And it was very respectful. I thought it was really cool. So anyways, okay, what else we got here? What's you guys talking about? Good to meet you, says Ray in Shrewsbury. Nice to meet you as well. Hope Wayne is feeling better today. Wayne seems to be better today, actually. He was feeling a little under the weather, and he seems pretty good. Did you play on Cornell's first solo album? No. I played on the Scream album a little bit, but the first solo album is all Chris and Alan Johannes, who's absolutely brilliant, and he played on big part of that record, and the sound is him, and a big part of it is Chris. So I didn't know Chris then. Yeah. Okay. Any plans on Classic Rock Show coming to North America? Maybe at some point. Yeah. I mean, they've talked about it. It hasn't materialized yet, but I'm not the powers that be. So my knees hurt says, I want curry. I got all the parts I need. You should do it. Don't hold back. Hey, Andre. Brian Smith is here with a super duper chat. He says, great to see you. First concert, Rush Signals 82. That's great. That's about when I started listening to Rush. And so that, that and then Grace Under Pressure are my first exposure to them. So please get a beer with your front man. You got good ones, and guitar nerds need them for sure. 100%. And we'll do that. 377 people online. Great to have you guys here. Thank you for being here. Having fun in the UK. Yes, I am. Yeah. I'm looking forward to my little break too, but I am having fun. Yeah. Let's see. Richard says that his stepson is his best concert buddy for classic shows. That's awesome. Very cool. Saw 9 Inch Nails in San Francisco once. Had some great garlic fries. Hope you get to Ireland, says Ian. I would love to go to Ireland. There's some, now Brexit, it makes it more difficult for this project now to go to a place like Ireland. Anywhere EU is a little more difficult. So that's what people voted for. Wait a minute. You mean we need visas to do absolutely everything now that we used to be able to do easily? Yeah, you do. What else we got here? Let's see. Jeff. Oh, that's cool. Daniel says Jeff Beck Group, Vanilla Fudge, and the Edwin Hawkins Singers in '69. Wow, that's cool. That's awesome. All right. Shawnee is just from down the road in Telford. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we were here 2 nights. It's a good town. Eric Johnson in 1990. Wow, that's your first show. That's cool. I've seen Eric a few times, not that far back, but man, Avia Musicom, that was a soundtrack of 1990 or 91 or wherever it came out for me, for sure. Yeah. Ben says Kim Mitchell's playing in town. Wow, go see him. That's awesome. You should totally go. I would love to see Kim. I really would. Okay, I think I'm gonna page down to the bottom of the chat here. There's a super chat I've missed there, just because I'm getting pretty far back. Midnight snacks for you. Your love of Van Halen helps us all. I do love Van Halen. I googled the Fat Cap and couldn't find much. Want to add one to the Plexi I've built? Hit up Dave Friedman, or there's a lot of schematics online and stuff now. I don't even know if it's still online, but there used to be what was it? Damn it, Metropolis Forum, the Metro Forum, Metro Amps. It might be archived or something. It sucks that it's not there anymore, but there was so much Van Halen discussion and the exact schematic. It's like for the amp is out there and stuff, and so you could find it and figure out what the value is. But look for the Metro Amp Forum or Metropolis Amp Forum, and there should be archive of some sort, and you'll be able to find a schematic and garner what this cap is that we're discussing. Yeah. Let's see here. It's Carl's from Barcelona. How are you? Thank you for the super chat. Hey, what's happening? I'm good. Yeah, I feel good. This is nice, actually. It's healing. I love doing this show because I was a little out of it today, but this is always fun, these streams. I enjoy it. It focuses me. Can a brown sound be achieved driving a Marshall with an overdrive in or attenuator in place? Well, certainly an attenuator. I mean, the most important thing is probably the amp and having a good guitar with pickup that is appropriate for that sound, because pickup makes such a big difference. Everything makes a difference going into a Plexi. A 4-hole Marshall without that much gain in the front end, significant gain, but not that much compared to modern amps, they tend to be affected by whatever you're running into them more. Like a modern amp homogenizes the sound more. You have a harder time hearing the difference between pickups, and you get a little bit more of the character of the front end of the amp, and that's it. But the less gain you're using, the more you kind of hear the guitar and stuff like that. So I would just say that the right guitar with the right pickup, and then a 4-hole Marshall with close to the right spec, and then just kind of cranking it way up and diming it, and then using a quality, probably I think reactive load with a reamp, or it could be what he started doing around the early 80s. He was actually using like a 16 ohm load resistor, loading down the amp, but setting the amp at 8, I think. And yeah. So let's see here. Hollywood actor says, what do you think of Steve Vai interview where he talks about how tough touring is now? Oh yeah, I saw that. There's a thread on the gear page about that. Would you consider a stripped down fly rig in future with only a model and a couple of pedals? Well, I kind of did that on the Five for Fighting tour, to be honest, this past summer, which I did a little rig rundown on, which worked great. It's fine. And yeah, and maybe that's the way to go. You know, I've actually chimed in on that thread and was mentioning touring with no bus. Some of the tours I did in Europe, like I was talking to our bus driver the other day, and I talked about this in the thread. A bus in UK here is about £1,000 a day, all in for, you know, fuel, the bus, the driver. It's about 12 to 1400 euros, evidently, when you're in other parts of Europe, right? So that's a big expense, you know, obviously 1,000, 1,200, 1,400 euros a day, right? So consider if you could maybe get the band around a different way, like train, which I know it sounds crazy, but I did 2 big tours in France with 2 major artists, and we never used a bus. We used the TGV, the high-speed rail, or sometimes just normal rail. And we would hub out of Paris. And so we would, like, you know, on days off, always be in Paris. And then the morning of a show, let's say we were playing in Lille or in, you know, Lyon or something outside of Paris, we would all show up at the train station around 11:30 or noon. We'd have a train ticket. The rail takes you pretty much anywhere in that country within 3 hours, maybe 4 tops, unless you're going super far south from Paris. And you'll show up for 3 p.m. at the train station in whatever town you're going to be in that day. Go to the venue, play the show, stay in a hotel overnight, get on a train the next morning and go back to Paris, because then we'd have a day off or something. Or maybe you go to the next town on the train. You know. Anyway, my point is this: you don't have that $1,200 to $1,400 expense. Instead, what you've got is hotels and train tickets, which the train tickets can be 70 euros or 80 euros, something like that. A hotel, you know, especially if you were to double up rooms, which I don't know if they do on a Steve Vai tour, but you can imagine, you know, if you could get a decent, you know, you're booking 4 or 5 rooms at a time or something, maybe you can get a good rate through a travel agent or something, and you can save some money that way. So that was my contribution to that thread, was, well, maybe they don't, you know, you know, I'm assuming they're touring with a bus. Most bands do. Here's the thing: when you go to tour in Europe, many times, you know, you'll take an American tour manager and you just tour the same way. Because I did this. We'd go over there with Chris Cornell or different people, and we'd just tour like we did in the States. Of course, you're going to rent a bus. Of course, you're going to drive. Of course, you're going to, you know, whatever. When I went there and I would play with French artists, we didn't do any of that. We toured differently. And it was like, oh, this is interesting, because they maybe just have a different system and they know their system better. So yeah, there's that. Gear, yeah, that's another issue. Of course, shipping gear overseas is insane. I remember when we would ship our backline, it was $40,000 to $50,000 every time we would ship backline to Europe and back again. You know, and that could also be the way they were doing it, like through cargo companies, through Rocket Cargo or whatever. Just, they can be expensive, or you can send it different ways and you can find deals. It's, you know, so. But yeah, we literally went in 2007 back and forth to Europe 3 times, and they did the math and they were like, this is insane, we have to buy a backline for Europe. So they literally bought I literally had a second pedal board made, amps and cabinets, all in Europe. You know, everything. They just literally bought new backline for the European market, and we just left that backline in Europe so that they didn't have to air freight it every time we were going back and forth overseas. So that can be the way. Now, yeah, of course, these days you could do quad cortex or XFX or whatever, and, you know, try and not be flying things over and stuff. There's different ways to do it. You know, it's probably the way to go. You know, but Steve's a particular guy. He probably wants things a certain way. You know, he's used to, you know, doing things a certain way and stuff, and I get that. So. Yeah. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. I have a set of your Thornbuckers with the plus in the bridge, but I'm looking for a little more output in the bridge. What do you recommend? Probably going to something like the what is it? The H single is it the HS H or HSS? Like the next step up, the 12K one, beyond my pickup. Something like that. Or maybe like a Screaming Demon, which is like a 10K pickup, it's wound beyond the PAF a little bit, 10K. Something along those lines, probably be what you're after. If you don't want to go all the way to like a JB, look at those. Look at like a Screaming Demon, and look at the Surrey single HS. It's the one that's got, I can never remember the DSH and the H. I think it's called a HSH or HSS, whichever one on their website says it's about around 12K. I would go to that and try that pickup, as opposed to the 14K, or 15K, going all the way to the, go to the next step up. Just picking up a Stratocaster Player Plus noiseless pickup, slightly darker, less chimey, still for higher gain sounds. No noise is awesome. Also, trem tuning is a lot more stable. That's cool. That sounds good. Oh, this is interesting. Paul's recommending a Jim Wagner Godwood in the bridge, 10.4K. I'll go 5. That can be a good way to go. Yeah, 10 something K. Yeah. Okay, is Mark here from Tone Talk? I think Mark's here. What's up, dude? How you doing? Let's see. Smash that like button, says George. Yes, please do. Please share. Smash the like. It all helps. I'm going to stick around, and I'm not going to go real long today. What have I been on for? Oh, I've already been on 42 minutes. I'm gonna cut out pretty quick here, guys. So around another 10 minutes, and I'm going to split because I'm just knackered, as I was saying, and gonna go meet the guys and stuff like that, and then chill out for the rest of the night. It's been kind of a long day. For those that just joined, I learned something today, which is don't eat at 3 or 4 p.m. and then don't eat again before the gig when you got a 3-hour show that starts at 7:30. It wasn't enough. I was a little like hurting by 9:30, 10 o'clock. I hadn't had enough protein, I feel like. So I'm still learning things. Lauren says, if CRS does a US tour, there'll be 250K Pete Thorn subscribers. Yeah, I do have most of my subscribers in the States. That's true. But there's some here, there's some great, it's always nice to meet folks that come out and say they watch. They're probably watching right now, but there's the folks that I meet all the time at meet and greets and stuff, and they say that they tune into this on Sundays. And it's really always nice to hear that. So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to page down to, there's a super chat I missed from Steven. Would the Thornbucker set be good for tighten up an SG? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do not like the lower mids or bass. Probably too much, right? Yeah, probably. I think it'd be a good set for you. If you want it to be like, certainly it's kind of truly Angus, sort of, T-top, a regular Thornbucker set. You might find that, the only thing is you might feel like, ooh, there's not enough drive now, but that's the way they sounded. I mean, like my 335 is so low gain, the pickups that are in it, and it's original pickups. It's a PAF in the neck and a early patent number in the bridge, and they're 7 point something K, and it's like got a little more output than a Strat. It's they're low whine pickups, and that's just that sound, and it's cool. I love it. I like to embrace it, and then just turn on a boost or whatever if you want more on those guitars. Let's see. There is a growing trend on YouTube that says all pickups are the same when using high gain. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but the more gain you use on your amp or the more drive you use in front, certainly homogenizes. That's totally a thing. So, yeah. I missed you on the 5 for Fighting tour by a day, says Music is Life. Moved to this area of Pennsylvania a day late. Was it at that cool gig that's by the old power plant? It was really fun. Or not power plant, it's by Steel Works. That place was amazing. that venue. I'll never forget getting off the bus and going, "Oh my God, where am I?" It looked like I was in, like, it was by the old, steel plant, and they'd converted this building into a venue for gigs and stuff. And it was just so cool with all the stacks of, all the old equipment and stuff like that, all the old buildings and all converted. Anyways, am I making sense? I hope so. I'm tired. Yeah. Jeff says, good luck getting around train in the UK. Yeah, I know that wouldn't work here because the trains are legendarily sucky here, but France, it works. There's James Cole. Yeah, like somebody was saying today that Germany, it wouldn't work. And I had a great experience going to Germany on what they call the Intercity Express from Paris. It's 3 hours from Paris all the way to Mannheim, which is almost basically Frankfurt. Frankfurt was the next stop. And I thought, well, maybe it'd work in Germany too. He was saying not so much. The trains don't work. This is on the gear page. The trains don't work as well in Germany. France, it sure seemed to be slick. So, you would hope that in places like, the Netherlands, where the distances are not very small country, the distances, aren't very great, that you could do a tour there on trains and it would be fine. Yeah. Do you have any breaks in the tours at Stealth Parrot? Yeah, I do. Coming up in about 10 days or so, I have a break, and I'm going to go home back to LA. So some of the guys, like Rudy, one of the singers, he's going to France for a bit and stuff, which would be fun. But I'm actually really looking forward to going to LA for a week. I've got some work to do back there anyway and stuff, some fun stuff. So, yeah. Between the Vi Marshall, this is a great question, and the Mars Marshall, which would be your go-to for a rock gig? That Mick Mars Marshall was, for a Jose, it just had this beefy, aggressive, killer rhythm tone. I mean, great for lead and stuff too, but there's something about that amp that haunts me to this day. The Steve Vai one was great too, in its own way. You heard it in the video, but the Mick Mars amp, you heard me play the Dr. Feelgood riff or whatever. It was like, holy shit. And I kind of can't get the Germino that I have. It doesn't sound exactly the same as that. It sounds really good, but it's like, that amp had this thing, and that's what, Richard Fortas was like, huh? Like, right? And I go, yeah. It was like really deadly sounding for what it was. So really, really killer. Yeah. Let's see. Been watching on YouTube, says Scott. Classic rock show sounds incredible. Please come to North America. I'd love to, man. Casino de Hole across the bridge from Ottawa. I think I played that place. Maybe with Don Henley. Sounds familiar. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, the band's really great. Firing on all cylinders this year. Yeah. Let's see. Scott says he's using 9.5 to 44. That's the gauge I use. Well, I don't use a 17 on the G, though. I use a 16. Otherwise, it's that gauge. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? There's a couple more comments, questions, and stuff, and then I'm going to split. Let's see. At the Detroit show, Billy Corgan took a snack break while the rest of the Pumpkins played. That's always a good idea. Henry takes a snack break while he's playing a solo on Rosanna. We do Rosanna. He's playing like a really bitchin' piano solo, and then he grabs like a protein bar and takes a bite out of it. He's done it 2 nights in a row, mid-solo. It's pretty exceptional. Thanks for explanation about the BC part 2 last week. You got it. No problem. No problem. It'll happen. It'll happen. I know I've been saying that for years, but it will. Thanks for doing this show, says Eric. I've heard the regular Thornbuckers sound a bit like single coil. Well, I mean, they lean in a little more that direction than a hotter humbucker or something that, is a balanced coil, hotter pickup. But, I wouldn't say I would just say it's a little bit more of a PAF-y thing, which kind of has something in common with that sound too. So how are you powering your effects rig? Just plugging it in. Nothing special. My paddleboard is a universal, like it's got switching power supplies in it, so you can run it off 240. And train tour in Japan, says Ian. Yes, that's how we toured there too. Only time we took a plane was all the way down to Kagoshima, way down in the south, because the trains it'd be like an 8-hour day on the trains, because it's that far. But yeah, we hub out of Tokyo, generally speaking, and take the train to Nagoya or Osaka or Hiroshima or Fukuoka, all the way up north to Sapporo. It's all train. Yeah, and yeah, they're exceptional. Best in the world that I've ever been on. Yeah. Okay. Where am I sitting right now? I'm in the bus, in the tour bus, actually. Yeah. Paul says I'm at a tone plateau. Thanks, man. You get back to LA, I bet there's a stack of pedals waiting for you. There's going to be a few things. Is there a different bass player this year? No. Wayne Banks. Yeah. What do I think about the Seven Seal from Van Halen Balance album? Cool. That album is interesting to me. I've been listening to it more lately because back then I didn't actually. I was just in a phase at that time where I just kind of wasn't, and so it's almost been like discovering, and also the previous album, the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album, I've listened to more recently because I just was not as tuned in as I was up till 88 or 89. And so it's like rediscovering stuff. Patrick Carroll says, can you demystify this for me? When you bend strings, it's repeated. You never use your fingers, always your wrist and forearm. But does that mean your fingers stay as stiff as a board? I use both. I don't know how else to describe it. I usually use my third finger supported by my second. And that's how I do it. And then, but wrist and forearms in there too. So it's all part of the same thing to me. No, keep in mind, many people do things differently, so I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. Guitars for your project. Are you using the IRs out of the Boss Tube expander direct to front of house? I'm actually using a York IR that I loaded in myself, and it's of a greenback cabinet, 412, with a 58 and some sort of condenser on it. I picked one of their blends, and that's what I chose to use. Loaded it in. So, yeah. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to go because I'm going to eat and stuff and get some nourishment in me. And sorry, it was kind of a short one tonight, a little under an hour. But I'll be back next week. And, maybe next week will be a day off. It'll be like, go do a fuller show, but yeah, I just didn't eat enough today and stuff. So I'm going to go chow and stuff like that. But I appreciate you being here as always. Thank you for super chats. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for dealing with the, random times as I'm out here on the road and stuff like that. When I'm back in LA on the Sunday that I'm back there, I'll do a regular 11:30 a.m. situation and stuff. So thanks, Ben Coombs. Thanks for being here. Go see Kim Mitchell this week. And all you guys, take care. And I will talk to you soon. Over and out. All the best.